Hello, my name is Suzanne F Stevens. I'm the president and founder of Ignite Excellence Group of Initiatives. And our mandate is really about investing in women in emerging countries, leadership, advocacy, and education. As the president and founder of Ignite Excellence, I have the opportunity to work with women like the women we're about to interview today. We are in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia today with our leading lady, Nigest Haile, Executive Director of the Center for African Women Economic Empowerment, otherwise known as CAWEE. This is definitely what we would call a leading lady, and it is so nice to introduce you not only to a woman that is an expert in export and entrepreneurship, but also a partner in Africa Business Women Connected Summit, and finally meeting her face to face this week for the first time. So it's great to have you finally and to get to know you a little better.
Nice to meet you, Suzanne.
Now, I guess you and I have been talking for about 8 months, and this is really the first chance to get to really understand and learn from you, and I'm sure our audience is going to appreciate that. You promote women entrepreneurs. Why have you focused all your efforts on women and then entrepreneurs?
You had been reading my brief bio. When I was working in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the major focus had been supporting women operating in the informal sector, micro entrepreneurs, where even our recent studies show that 70% of those operators are women. That's true, the government is focusing that. But the areas where women are involved, like in small and medium enterprises, nobody had been taking care of them. No institution had been supporting them. They think that they are small and medium, they are better off. Of course, they are better off in finance, in knowledge, and in many aspects. And in export also they have knowledge, but that's not always true. So I saw that gap, and I said, I've been serving the government for 23 years. Let me go out of that and get this center established and work particularly not in general women entrepreneurs, but women entrepreneurs with a focus to export. So this category is actually is comprised of women that are existing exporters, that are actually in export business, but those with a potential and that are emerging exporters. So that's our focus areas as a center, and that's my area of interest, and that's why I took this initiative in establishing such a center and be also a good partner to the government so that I really can contribute my level best, and which we really did starting 2004.
And just for the point of clarity, when you refer to export...
export actually is out of the country in any way. It can be in the region, in the continent, but also international. But when it comes to our traditional focus is international beyond the continent,
okay,
which is usually wrong. We should have worked that parallel. But most of our women, is when it comes to export, everybody is focusing export international beyond the continent. So their major focus usually goes to North America and to Europe and to other potential export countries. But still, these days, CAWEE is usually giving equal focus on working South-South trade. We just call it South-South trade. We need to trade among ourselves because we are seeing huge market potential that one country can be a buyer, the other country can be a seller. So that's why we are trying to work in 5 African countries together with the support that we had been given by the EU program called ProInvest. Initially, when we were starting, we were 3 countries, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Uganda. We did lots of things so that we will try to market, our women can really market among ourselves. And that had been a very good entry point. That project is ended now, and we have added 2 more countries, Seychelles and Zambia. We are now 5. So fortunately, we are expecting support from a project called CDE. That's an EU project, Center for Development of Enterprises. We have seen a green light. We are thinking the project will be financed. Then you can see how we are expanding the number of the countries. We started from 3. We are now going to be 5. Then we'll continue working and furthermore on South-South trade.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity available for women entrepreneurs? What businesses are the biggest opportunity? We'll start there and then we'll get into countries.
In a situation like Ethiopia, where the majority of our women are involved, is mainly in the handloom, the weaving area. Mm-hmm. Even though most of the weavers traditionally are men, But these days, women weavers are really coming out. But the majority of the owners of those enterprises are women who are employing hundreds of weavers. So that beyond producing traditional products from the traditional weaving loom, producing high-end, best home decor products, beddings, kitchenware, and all of that. And this has proved really working when we were working with the support of CIDA, the Canadian International Development Agency. We had a program which was executed by the International Trade Center, where we were able to work with 6 companies owned and managed by women. So that program actually invested on those women that were really involved in the handloom weaving, but mainly had been doing traditional products that were not really there for the high-end home decor products. But this program took them through a product development process of 10 months, which really changed, diversified their product lines, targeting that high-end, the North American export market. So this was the support that we were giving, and that was one of our focus areas.
Not every woman that watches this that wants to become an entrepreneur. What are some maybe other areas?
Handicrafts, jewelry, knitting, embroidery. These days, I think jewelry and leather accessories are really becoming very relevant areas of involvement, because most of they are fashion accessories. So they really have market for the high end. And when you see the nature of the product and thinking of export, it is the weight is light. You can export it in any way you want. It can't take much volume.
I think that's a really important point when you're talking about exporting, is the cost of actually getting it to a destination, the freight cost. High quality. A lot of times when people, and you're talking about North America and Europe being maybe two key major exporters, people to export to. The high quality is such an important element as a Canadian and buying. I remember going to a friend of mine, seeing all the high quality African stuff she had in her home. And I got to tell you, it looked very different than the not high quality stuff I had in mine. and I don't know if we have the perception of high quality, because a lot of North Americans anyway like good quality stuff. And I had the pleasure of seeing one of your clients, their stuff yesterday, and it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So I like the emphasis of quality. What else do you think, besides quality products, when you're thinking about exporting? You have to have quality. You have to also consider the weight of the product. What else do you need to consider?
Like if you are working on fashion, because most of our women are also fashion designers, they provide products to fashion, to high-end fashion shops and all those. I think the color trend, the season is always very important. If you produce a product for this season, it doesn't work for the next season. So I think we have only one woman who is a member of the International Color Group. That's Sarah Aberra from WEA. She's the only one, and she is paying $7,000 to be a member a year. But the benefit she's taking, being a member and paying that lots of money, is getting the color prediction. She'll tell you more when you are interviewing her.
Yes.
So for the coming season, I think they even make predictions for the coming 2 years, the color, which matters a lot to enter that particular niche market. So the color trend is very important. The fashion trend is very important. The season is also very important. So products change because of all those seasons, colors, and all those.
What are some of the 3 top obstacles women entrepreneurs would have, and what recommendations would you have to overcome them?
I think this can be universal. Women have multiple roles. Women entrepreneurs, they are mothers, they are wives, they are businesswomen, so they have many things to attend to, which is not the same like the men entrepreneurs. So one of the things they suffer is time constraint. To be able to properly manage the small and the bigger time that they have to spend to their businesses, and properly also attend the children and the husband and the family, give proper time and care for all their responsibilities, because this is in most of the cases a traditional family where women are expected to do lots of activities. It's not like you in North America that the husband is equally sharing most of the activities like
Not
the
quite
wife.
yet.
Yeah, but in the situation of
I
Africa and Ethiopia, women have a lot to do.
Yeah.
So these women have lots of problems. They have time constraints, and they have to be sure they are really managing their time properly. When it comes to a serious constraint for women that we have already put it in our book is the challenge of accessing finance. It's a very serious constraint, especially for the women category, which we are talking about, the small and medium women in small and medium enterprises. Women usually in micro and informal sector can easily access microfinance, which is a tradition in many of the countries, the same in our country. But for the women of that category I'm talking about, the microfinance institutions are very small because they are big. That money that they're expecting from the microfinance doesn't take them anywhere.
Right.
When they think of going to formal banks to access loan, is a problem of collateral. In most of the cases, in all the cases, banks are asking collateral because they want to make sure also when they are giving money. So in such cases, since the women entrepreneurs, the majority of them, they don't have their property in their names. Either it's together with the husband or mainly in the husband's name. So if she wants to get a loan, she has to get the consent of the husband for the property to be taken as collateral. So this is a serious problem for most women. I think not only in Ethiopia but in the region itself. So this is a serious constraint. And the other thing which I can see is our women are really not there updating themselves in information, especially when it comes to export. Networking, using emails, exploring websites and all those. So I think they have a lot to do in those areas, because when you think of export, you have to communicate through email. It's not through telephones, it's expensive. It might be better in Skypes, which makes things much cheaper. So with these technologies, they are not very close doing those things. So our women have a lot to do on that.
Can you just walk me through some steps that I should take in order to be export ready?
We are providing different services to those categories of existing and potential or emerging women exporters. What we provide them is what we're partnering with the International Trade Center is providing them training in international trade. This is A to Z. It has about 23 modules, and it tells any woman entrepreneur that if she is export ready or not, so that she revisits herself, whether she is ready or not, or she has to stay some time at the domestic market, so that she needs to keep that quality, that standard, all the expected entries to the export market. So that's one big tool we have. And we do that.
Can you give us some examples?
Export strategy, business plan when you start it. Most of them do not have a business plan. When you think of export, not even export, just any kind of business, you need a plan. So one of the modules is developing a business plan, mainly focusing on an export plan.
Great.
So the other part can be in any kind of product, especially those who are involved in manufacturing, because we're providing training for those that are in manufacturing and also in services. So mainly on manufacturing, we also train them in packaging. How do we have an expert who is doing this training, so we provide them trainings in packaging. We also provide them trainings in costing and pricing. Do they really know how to cost, how to make the detailed costing and pricing before they start thinking of entering the export market? So the different modules can tell them all those details, and they revisit themselves. Am I ready for export?
Do you find that on occasion or often women say, okay, this is how much it costs me to produce the product, but they don't take all the things into account beyond the production? So the packaging, to your point, to the transport, and how long is it going to sit on the shelf before it actually gets sold? And do they think of all the costs? Because there's a lot of costs.
They don't. That's why we're training.
Yeah, right.
Most of them even do not keep records. You need to have records to do your own costing.
Right.
starting from the raw material input, the labor costs, the admin costs, so many costs are complex costs, in promotional costs. If they are thinking, you can talk to some of our women, they'll tell you they don't even put any cost for business promotion, which is key. Producing brochures, flyers, promotional materials, even to the extent of going to international trade shows. These have to be costs to be budgeted even in their business plans. So which they don't usually do, let alone costing their own products. So some of them are really coming on the right line because the training is really helping them. Beyond those 23 generic modules, we also do sector-specific trainings based on their requests. Like if certain group requests training for a day, like on costing and pricing only, we do it for a particular category, packaging the same thing.
In the spirit of educating people that are listening to this insight and to take advantage of your knowledge, let's say I've priced my product correctly. I've taken into promotion, I've taken into manufacturing, I've taken in some profit, so it's ready, and an expert like yourself says, you know what, you're ready to get it over to United States, let's say. How do I get it to United States? I mean, now I know the pricing is correct, but how do I create partnerships and buyers? Can you give us some insight into finding the right person to sell our products internationally?
Beyond providing the services which I'm mentioning, like training and business counseling services, we also connect them to potential buyers. For example, in the program called AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, we are very closely working with the US Embassy here and also the State Department, which recently they have created a program called AWEP, African Women Entrepreneurship Program, which mainly focuses on women exploiting the opportunities on AGOA. So we are very much connected to the embassy. So we organize every year missions coming from the US to here. Beyond helping women to go and participate in international trade shows, we are really encouraging buyers to come and see them here physically, because that creates more confidence. So usually every year, in close collaboration with the embassy here, and we had also the AGOA coordinating country office here in Addis. So we had been working, bringing buyers. Recently we had one buyer that was here from New York. So we usually organize visits for them to each of the companies. She goes through all the products and chooses and gives them sample orders. So this is how we connect them. We mainly do that with the US Embassy through the AGOA program, since that's a special provision of tariff-free where the women can enter their products. The other one is like the exhibition and trade forum, which I participated, like the one last week in China, where the International Trade Center is closely working with We Connect International, where they are bringing multinational companies like the Marriott International, the Walmart, the IBM, many of them, so that companies like those can really source from women. That had been an interesting program which I really participated. So even in the program that we had in China last week, about 3 or 4 multinational companies signed a contract of $14.7 million to source from women. So these are the linkages and networks we are having. So the moment I'm back here, I connected companies with those buyers. So they have already started communicating, and they are thinking of, I'm sure, sending them samples.
If I was just an independent and wanted to export, and if I wasn't connected to some of these programs that are in place, it would be very difficult.
It is definitely.
Which kind of leads to something you and I talked about before. And how willing are women to spend the money to grow their businesses?
Yeah, this is a good question, and very difficult for them to spare money on that. Like my example now in China, we had last week's exhibition and trade forum. About 12 of them applied online, but 4 of them were only accepted because it has its own screening procedure, because there was a matchmaking to the multinational companies. So the multinational companies will give you the opportunity also to see which kind of product supplier will best suit you. So with all this, passing all those processes, at least we had the chance to get 4. And in this process of getting sponsorship, it was even half sponsor. The International Trade Center was sponsoring their accommodation and more or less the food, because we have been eating the invited and I haven't spent money for food. But they were only asked to buy their round trip tickets. Sad, no one has gone. It was only me who went. I was supposed to be the delegate, the lead for the delegation. I think this is happening many times. So I think I'm seeing mainly donor dependency. You know, most of the programs have really spoiled our women. And we have not really encouraged them to cost share. And the planning, the business plan, which I was telling you also, women do not really plan to promote their businesses. They have to set aside certain amount of money to promote their businesses, to go and participate in international trade shows, 100% paying. Imagine the exhibition booth had been paid by ITC, like last week in China. They were not expected to pay. It was very expensive in Marriott Hotel.
I think you're bringing up a really good point, because out of all the interviews that we've had and the businesswomen that I've talked to here, we talk a lot about different things, about branding and social media, but we're really not talking about one of the big issues, and that is, are you promoting your company for success? And a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but do you think some of these donor dependency is definitely part of that? I would agree with you on that. But also the fact that the businesses grow to a certain point, but you can grow your business and not promote yourself to a certain point. But there gets to a point, if you really want to grow and commit to your business, you have to put the promotional dollars. And it's got to be a fixed item rather than a discretionary item. And that's probably a really good opportunity to start incorporating. This is not if you have enough money at the end of the day. This is part of doing business.
Yeah, and also to continue growing.
Yes.
You don't need to be satisfied with what you have. So you have to continue growing. From being small, they have to grow medium. From being medium, they have to grow large.
Why? Why do they have to grow?
They have to grow large to get more money.
For who?
That's another thing. For them, for the benefit of their community, you can make it in any way. But I don't know how many of them are really working on their social responsibilities as another issue. But the money can be given to many areas of concern.
You know, you really hit on a really important point. The more people you can employ, the more people that
generate more foreign currency for a country like us that really have a shortage of getting more foreign currency. Yeah. If they export more, they generate more foreign currency. If they export more, as you say, they employ more people.
Yeah.
So it has many multiplier effects. So.
Yeah, but then it goes back to sort of the comment you made is with women having so many roles, it makes it difficult to take on too much because you may not be able to do it all.
Yeah, but if you have the money, you're not expected to do all. You can delegate. This is a problem we see in many of our women. They want to do everything. In many of the situations, they might not be satisfied. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, I definitely cannot get my replica. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I cannot get someone that can really replace myself. They want that, but they can't. They never get it. Either they have to employ someone, train him or her, so that they are delegated, and through process they take over some of their burdens. So they want to do everything. That's why they have a problem of managing their time, the limited time they have, and also managing their resources also. I mean, with their money they can employ professionals. They can delegate, like the export facilitation part, they can delegate. They don't need also to travel to all the international trade shows. They can delegate the best salesperson they can put. So this is a problem. Of course, it's related with resource. The more you try to employ and delegate, you have to put more money on that. But you are expanding your business.
And the more you get a competent person, the more you can do to make
you grow more.
In your experience, do you think women now, particularly in Ethiopia or Eastern Africa, do you think now that they're starting to get some freedoms because they are being more successful, that they want to hold on to it and to control it? rather than let it go because they finally achieved it?
In many of the big companies, the women groups we are having, I think things are changing. They are trying to employ professionals. Of course, they invest. It demands their investment. They have to pay them good amount of money so that they don't go to other places. They have to give them other fringe benefits. We have women that are really investing in their businesses. Those that, even in money-wise, in expanding the enterprise, having 3-4 branches in other parts of the country, they are really trying all their level best, investing on their workers. Like the weavers now, they are having, most of them are having, like Sarah, having a master weaver. Not only one, she had one, now they are having more master weavers. So that's one of the company, the best, our reference company. I'm always mentioning it in any of my talks and interviews. So they invest on them. They know how to keep them working for them. So companies have to invest on their workers. They have to train them. They have to invest them, and they have to pay them. In some cases also, some of them are trying to give them shares, which is good. You feel a sense of ownership because you have a share in that business. We're really encouraging women to do so. So that they don't bother that somebody who had been with them for a year and they don't panic he's leaving next year. Because he has a stake, she has a stake in the company. Because of that share, they continue working because of the ownership, part of the ownership. So these are some of the areas we are really encouraging our women, and some are really doing it.
And are they seeing a difference?
They're seeing the difference, the sense of ownership.
Yeah.
So they're really seeing it. So most of women are doing it, but some are doing it, and we're really using them as references.
Is there the best place to export to that's the easiest for somebody who wants to start exporting?
I think starting within the region, like you mentioned, the South-South trade, South Africa is good. Like for a country like us also, even though physically it's a bit far, South Tip, we have a flight every day. And South African Airlines is also coming almost every day.
Yeah.
So with that infrastructure being there, and I think Nairobi is also another area. I think many of the countries in East Africa, West can be a little bit difficult because it's far.
Yeah.
Even though Ethiopian Airlines is flying in most of the destinations, but it's really far. North is also another potential market, like Morocco, Algeria, those countries. But South Africa our women are really trying to do business there.
Where we started this conversation when we talked about export, it was, to Europe and to North America. And now when we're talking about export, the best places to start is on your continent, is what you're saying.
Exactly. That gives you the capacity to grow, to learn more. Then you learn through experiences. To learn more, then the more you start working within your own areas, then the more you will build your capacity so that they can stretch to beyond the continent.
Excellent. Some really good insight there. I want to sort of focus on sort of you as a leader now and a trailblazer in your own right. To date, what would you say has been the most significant impact you feel you've made in your career?
I've been involved, but beyond this part, my full-time job, I'm involved in many activities.
What's the one that means the most to you?
Women. I've been telling you one of the barriers women face is finance. So myself and we were actually 12 women, 4 professional and 8 pioneer women in business. We said, why don't we establish a commercial bank? And we name it, just give it a name of Women's Bank, but Annat Bank. We named it Annat Bank. Annat means mother. Mother, loving, caring, providing, everything. Mother is everything. So we just thought about this starting 2008. It came materialized. The bank is now, it's under process of establishment. Don't ask me how much time it had been demanding. It was equally demanding good time that I was spending at this full-time job of mine. We were sometimes in meetings until midnights. Weekends, you don't count weekends. Weekends, we are always for the bank. So that's an initiative which I'm really proud of. So we're all women. we have been talking about finance. We never expected someone to come and help us. We said we have to find a solution. This had been 8 of them pioneer women in business, 4 of us professionals. I think that mix can help. We started it. It was not easy. And so far we have only 12 private banks operational in Ethiopia.
And you're one of them.
And we're now going to be the 13th.
You're the 13th.
Yeah, so the initiative we took, being a woman, professional and businesswoman, the mix also we had, the time that it took us to reach at this stage. And the program, we are thinking how best we can empower women so that they can access finance, not only from our bank, but also from all the existing banks operational in the country. It's not an easy agenda to start with, but we made it.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy.
I did read something about that, and that's wonderful, and I didn't know if it was done, and wonderful news. I guess I think I could talk to you for hours and days and learn something new that you've been involved in. If I was to ask you, what would be the one thing that you would attribute your success to? If it's a personality trait or it's a particular motivation, what would that one thing be?
I think for me, in this area of mainly focusing and supporting women, focusing in exports, I think our center is a pioneer center. So I'm really very proud of that, myself being the lead in the institution. And I'm very proud on the networks what I had. My stay in the government, in the ministry for many years had been very instrumental for my network to start with. So that had been very helping me a lot. So I think I'm very proud of that. I have an institution which is really supporting, which is really filling a good gap that can really support an area which no one had been providing support. So I'm really proud of that. That with the name we have African, we have a vision extending to the continent. We have opened a chapter in Tanzania, CAWEE chapter, CAWEE Tanzania, and we will continue opening chapters and be regional to the continent before I retire.
To make all these things happen, there's got to be something in you, that sort of that one thing that has motivated all of these initiatives. What is that has motivated all of these initiatives?
I think my drive, and I never expect cash or payments or any reward. With doing all this, in so many situations, is frustrating. You will even from very close friends and relatives, you don't get congratulations. In our culture, it's very difficult for a woman to abandon her family, to stay in the weekends out of the house, to attend meetings, cocktails, receptions at night. The good thing I have a very good husband and very understanding daughters, and that had been good because of their support. I was able to be here. Otherwise, the environment is very harsh. You cannot continue working on that. But this had been very supportive for me. And one thing for me, I always congratulate myself. I don't want to. It's good. That's most welcome if people are congratulating me. I always say, "Oh, Nigest, you really have done a good job today." I always congratulate myself.
Good for you.
I always do. I always think positive.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, sometimes I might think negative, but I always think positive. That I think that is what kept me going, with all those frustrations around you, with so many things around you discouraging. That really keeps me going. So I always congratulate myself to what I've done. I'm always happy to my success. I learn from my failures, and that's driving me to continue working in many volunteer activities, in many of them that I'm never paid.
All successful people fail at something, at some point. Can you give us an example of where you've implemented an initiative or a project that did not work? You worked at it, it did not work, and what you learned from that project and how you do it differently in the future?
Most of the, I remember one time we had a project on, I was in the ministry that time, we had a project on women, creating an income generating activity for women with HIV/AIDS. So I was proposing this to one of the embassies. And it was very sad and disappointing, the response I got when I was presenting the project document. Oh, these people, they're really sick and they're almost to die. So why do you think we need to sponsor such kind of initiatives? And it was really sad. It was really heartening. So I was really sad, but we continued working without their support. This can be a small example, but there are things that can really frustrate you. But if you stop at that particular point, you can't reach anywhere. So we tried another option and we made it. So there are, especially in a country like us, when you are seen a pioneer, when you are seen that you are a successful woman, there are always blockades seen in any corner. So unless we design strategies to overcome such kind of problems, we remain there.
Yeah, all pioneers come across obstacles.
Yeah,
So
and that drives you. I think that is also good. Usually smooth roads are not always good. I don't know.
That get boring.
So it's good for a change sometimes.
So which kind of leads us to our edginess segment, and you may have already mentioned it, but I will ask the question anyway. Is there something that you have to do in your career that makes you uncomfortable? It's outside your comfort zone, but you need to continue to do it in order to be successful.
Yeah, probably I have been mentioning to you the multiple roles that women in business are facing. I also face that multiple roles. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a community caretaker. There are so many community activities that we have to take care in weddings, funerals, and all those. And giving good time for your family. So this is in many situations conflicting. But I'm a very good mother. In any way, I'll try to give time to my husband. I try to give time to my girls. Mm-hmm. So that has tried to, and I'm a good cook. So you don't expect me being professional to go to work. Usually in Africa we have helpers. Mm-hmm. So they cook and we eat, we sit down and eat. But I also enjoy my house, working in my house. So with the small time I have, I try to keep the balance. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Those community issues like weddings, the funerals, and all those, I usually get involved. With the bigger and small time I have to be part of it. Otherwise, you'll be out of the community. So keeping that balance is not always easy. So we always try to take a balance with my husband. So I think those things are working, but still, hope it will continue, but I'm trying to keep that balance.
So what does success mean to you?
Directly to my women in business, mainly focusing in export. For me, their success is my success. I'm always glad and I really shout when they benefit. Like Sarah, she's always my role model from Ethiopia. She was just exporting in suitcases, in DHL, meaning a very small quantity. The moment I knew that she was started exporting in a container, I said, this is my real success. It's not me who benefited from the money, but that was really my success. Mm-hmm. How I saw her, how she was stretched from a very few number of employees, she's now in hundreds. From small amounts of foreign currency, she is now in thousands, generating thousands of dollars. I mean, for me, because I am committed to this job, promoting them, that's what my success is. Their success is my success. But maybe I need to share a story which my second daughter said, because I usually take them to their homes, and she always sees them driving beautiful, very big, nice cars with the women in business. Mommy, I'm always surprised. It's good we have our small house, we have a small car, but why don't you be a businesswoman like them, so that we have a big house like that, so that we enjoy driving such kind of cars? It's a challenging question from a girl, I think she was 10 that time. She was only 10 years young. I said, yes, it's a very good question. But if all of us are women in business, who is going to promote them? So I'm born for that. I'm here to promote them. I have to be there for them to be promoted. So this was the answer. I said, so all of us cannot be entrepreneurs. For me, their success is my success in many ways.
And you were saying to me the other day too that, what drives you is inside. You can't describe it. It's just it drives you inside, and seeing their success is probably part of that. As part of your role, you're a leader, and that comes in many forms. So, if you were to define leadership, not the three things I'm going to ask you next, but if you were to define leadership,
for me, a good leader. A role model that really teaches people by example. I have to be an example to anyone, so that they can see the good things in my path, so that I can be their reference. Oh, look at her, she is really a good leader. Certain examples, references have to be seen in me, so that I prove a real leader.
Leadership is leading by example.
It's leading by example. And the other thing is, I always believe educating myself. You have to continue educating yourself, so that you're always a better leader. You're well informed. You know all the current issues in your area of expertise, so that you better inform the others that really see you, that really follow you. So I always believe in that, and I'm trying to do my best also in that.
I guess those are also your leadership lessons as well, right? Is lead by example, and make sure that you're knowledgeable and always well informed. And particularly, you mentioned in your area of expertise, if you're going to claim to be an expert, you better be an expert.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's easy to call yourself an expert, but it's when you're called an expert, are you truly an expert?
Yeah.
Is there one thing that you would do differently in pursuit of your success?
Maybe learning from the others that are really better than me. Of course, there are better people than me, but in my area of expertise, I want to learn more. Since export is a very wide area, there might be many components and many services which our center is expected to provide. So as I said, I need to continue. I have to continue learning and networking, so that we provide new services. We provide doing things from the traditional way, the traditional practice we are doing, providing different but very attractive and services that can really change the lives of our women, so that they can really change fast. Sometimes it's really discouraging. You invest them on more, you take much of your time, but you don't see many changes. So I sometimes question, why? Is it a problem of me that I'm not changing? Am I not updating myself in any way which I should? So I want to educate myself in such ways so that our support can be really the support that can really change the lives of the companies fast.
I know you know this, but just as a reminder, people only can change and grow if they want to change and grow.
Okay.
And sometimes people think they want to change and grow because that's what you're supposed to do, not what I really want to do. So those are two ways to give you some sense of comfort. It's finding the Sarahs. But by the way, Wisdom Exchange is interviewing Sarah. Will be the next interview after this. And
she's our role model.
Truly, I often ask people, do you think that women really want to expand? Because some do, but some don't. And some people do, and some people don't.
Yeah, it's true. We see it in our practical experience. Like the business counseling program, it's a new program. We just launched it in March this year. And we introduced a cost sharing. Definitely, if a woman is not cost sharing, will not do the business counseling, because we are paying a lot of money for the certified business counselors. So when we were interviewing those women who wanted, during our introductory session, I think they were about 30 of the women were there, because we have to introduce the program and popularize it. The moment they knew they are paying, 15 came back. But from the 15 are not now on board. It was only 6 of them that paid it. And the payment is not that much. It was just a very small contribution, but starting the sense of cost sharing. But so we're taking on board those that are really showing interest to cost share. So we can see changes as we, even though it's not that big.
This cost sharing is something I'm a huge advocate of and learned the hard way myself. And I'm glad to hear that you're supporting that, because you find the people that are serious.
And you go with them.
And why give your energy to 30 when you only 6 really want to put the time and the effort in?
Yeah.
And even if it's not much, it's excellent
But
strategy.
it's going to be a long process. You know, it's changing the mindset.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. So it's a process. It's a process. But we are using those as role models. That's why we're organizing a breakfast meeting next Saturday, so that those women, the 5 women that graduated from the first step of the business counseling, who cost shared, are going to share their best practices for the rest of the women.
Excellent. So, given the chance, what would you love to do that you haven't done yet? Anything that you haven't done yet, what would you love to do?
For me, I'm thinking of establishing, if I can, establishing a center that can really develop successors. Successors, and we really have a serious problem in the category of women in business. Like if you take their associations, I've been mentioning this also. We want the young ones to come out. You don't usually see the young ones leading in associations of women entrepreneurs, mainly in our case. Those that had been there 10 years ago, you see her again as a president after 10 years. I just want to change that, and I would like to have an institution that can really work on this, and sort of incubation center that can really bring out young leaders.
Excellent.
So that's really my dream, but I wish I will do it before I retire.
So this is a chance to do that. Now you have 2 daughters?
3.
3 daughters.
Yeah,
How old's
3.
the youngest one?
They are 19, 17, and 15.
Okay. Let's pretend the 15-year-old is 10 years old today. What words of wisdom would you give to your 10-year-old daughter today?
You know what I do before my words of wisdom? I am really investing on my children.
Yeah.
I'm lucky they are my daughters. I'm really proud of that. I'm their mother. Whichever conference I'm organizing, they are there. We are members of Toastmasters Club. All of us, where big adults are part of it, my daughters are part of that. You can't imagine the speech they are making in a public speech. So I am, even the second one is really saying, Mommy, I have to be your successor. I'm so proud. I've not pushed her to that age, but I'm saying, Mom, you're really doing a great job. I need to be your successor. So better I study law. She's now in 10th grade in high school, in 11th grade high school. So my words of wisdom, like in my country as a citizen, for me, I don't expect somebody to come and work for my country. I'm here to work. That's why you see we took the initiative of establishing the Women's Bank. We don't need to expect donors coming and establishing the Women's Bank for us. We're here, professional women and business women. We have all the caliber doing it. Why not we do it? We did it. We proved doing it. So for me, I think we really have. You have seen women interviewing in Ethiopia, in the continent. We have vibrant women in many of the areas. I think we are able to change the continent, but we have to be committed to work.
Absolutely, and I'll take that as sort of your words of wisdom to women in Africa, but I'm going to go back, because that's really important. You know, being committed to work for Africa, don't expect other people to do it. I think that's very powerful. But I'm going to go back to the question about your 10-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Because what would you tell her in a sentence or two?
For me, as I'm also doing it, I will encourage her to do volunteer work for her country. Just do things volunteer. You know, the region, the continent, things are spoiled. For any activity you do, you expect a payment. For any activity you do, you expect remuneration, even not her age, below her age. Somebody looking after your car, a very small boy, he will come and say, oh, I will be here, but you'll give me money. A very small boy. So everybody is just, everything is connected to remuneration and finance. If we continue having such kind of a culture, I don't think we can have a generation that can be our successor. So my daughter, for me, that's why I'm involving her, where I'm involving my daughters in many of the volunteer activities. They are also club members in Rotaries, in the young Rotarian clubs. So I involve them in many voluntary activities.
What do you wish you were told at 10 years old?
I think that, being a doctor, a medical doctor in a country like Ethiopia when I was 10, everybody was wishing, you have a bright color, you look intelligent, so you're going to be a medical doctor. I'm not. But my daughter, she's now in medicine. My mother was really sick. My mother was not, was a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was really good helping her at home that time, because it was our role, and she was always saying, you are going to be a very good wife. It's true, I'm a very good wife.
I don't doubt you. I don't.
But
don't
beyond that, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nigest. My name is Suzanne Stevens, and I co-produce Wisdom Exchange TV with my husband, Michael K. Ginrick. We're traveling all over Africa, interviewing women like Nigest, who've really trailblazed, been pioneers in their own right. And something, extra special about Nigest is that effort of volunteerism is a huge one, not expecting something in return. So if you know somebody that we should interview that is a trailblazer, a leader, or pioneer, please email us at info@wisdomexchangetv.com, and we'll research them, make sure they fit our criteria, and when we're in your country, we would be happy to interview them. Also, if you work for an organization or own an organization that wants to be in front of the top business leaders throughout Africa, please look on our site or again email me at info@wisdomexchangetv.com about sponsorship of Africa Business Women Connected Summit. This is a pioneering initiative that is taking place in Ethiopia in 2013, and we're looking for sponsors and partners to work alongside us. Again, my name is Suzanne Stevens, and I would like to share with you my words of wisdom. Opportunities are not only the ones that present themselves, but they're the ones we create. So when it comes to building your business, don't only look in your backyard to your neighbor, but to really grow, look to other countries and to other continents, because that's where you will truly prosper. Thank you for joining us.